welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show, the cutting edge talk show about legal, political, All right, welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show. It is 12 noon, and I'm your host, Dave Mierswa. I hope everyone is having a fantastic Sunday out there. We finally got a break from this weather. Oh my God, I was out yesterday. I was out running around, and I tell you, man, it was so nice out there. So once again, you are listening to the Dave Mierswa Show, and for some reason my intro just kind of croaked. So whatever. Being a lawyer for almost 20 years, I'm telling you, I'm never amazed from the technology that, it's good until it doesn't work. And I see a lot of lawyers. One of the things that always happens when I come into court, I still use the calendars that you hand write things in. I can't tell you how many times lawyers come into court and then they're not prepared, number one. Then number two, their phone dies right on them. And so then they want like 3 hours to sort it out. And there's a reason why I still use paper and things like that. But anyway, you are tuned in to 98.3 WRLR. You are listening to attorney Dave Mierswa. And this show is about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. Let me say that again. The show about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. My mission statement on this radio show, I started this radio show almost a year ago, if you can believe it. And I'm on the air every Sunday at 12 noon live. So this isn't a tape recorded show that a lot of other radio stations have. This show is live. Just like my intro didn't go off. We don't worry about that. I push forward. So, again, all shows are live, and all of my shows are uploaded to YouTube. So you can just Google Dave Mierswa in YouTube, and I got all my shows there. And also they're uploaded to my website, law540.com, law540.com. And then in the next month or so, I'm going to be starting to podcast. So you'll be able to download all these shows. But I'm telling you folks, today, this last week and a half, I was listening to a lot of the politics, and I feel it. I feel it out there, and I know what's going through your head as well as me. I'm sick of hearing the politics and all that, so I just wanted to take a break. I enjoy all the entertaining corpse that Trump makes and all the fighting and all that, and then all the reposturing. And yes, I also enjoyed Hillary barking and so forth. But today, I wanted to focus on some important aspects in the law, and then today I'm going to be covering family law, surviving a divorce, a custody battle, and then also the legislator down in Springfield had, and I think some of the changes are good and some of them aren't too good. But anyway, we got to live with them. So for those of you that are involved in the law or whatever of some kind, Springfield changed family law completely upside down. So starting January 1st of this year, 2016, they redid the entire code for family law and divorce and custody. They don't even call custody anymore. It's called parenting responsibility. So I'm going to get into all that in a couple of minutes. So today's show, I'm going to focus on how to survive a divorce, and the legal issues that go into it, and also custody, now known as parenting time and responsibility. So I'm going to get into that. I'm also going to get into contested versus uncontested. I'm going to get into what you need to look for in an attorney. And I'm going to get into some of the forms. And then I'm going to get into as much as I can about some of the changes in 2016 here. So, interesting topic. My background is I've been a lawyer for almost 20 years. It's been like 18 years, something like that. I've lost track. It's unbelievable. I've seen just about everything between clients. I've seen just about anything inside the courtroom, outside the courtroom. And I've learned a couple of things here. First of all, I'm sitting in the studio, and this stuff is live. I don't have a pre-canned brief here, and so when I speak to you, it comes from my heart. Okay, so this stuff is live, and as I broadcast this stuff, I'm trying to convey to you some important messages, but don't forget about my mission statement. My mission statement for my radio show is to seek diverse opinions, debates, and educate people on cutting-edge topics that are also social and legal issues as well, okay? At the beginning of all of my shows, I do very important shout-outs and also public service announcements. So, my wife and I have been lawyers for a long time, but I tell you, one of the things that I get away from the law is we're each animal lovers. And we do a lot of work for non-kill animal shelters, and there's two different kinds of animal shelters. They got the ones that kill animals and the ones that don't. They do have to put some animals down depending on their medical condition, but they keep the animals alive to be adopted into their forever homes, if you get that. And one of my first shout-outs this morning is Reach Rescue. Reach Rescue is a non-for-profit, non-kill animal shelter located in Mundelein, Illinois, 1126 West Maple Avenue, and they are a non-kill, non-for-profit animal shelter. And this is what's cool. They have saved, or if you're a dog lover, I know they saved well over 1,100 dogs. And it is amazing how many they have saved. And right next door to the animal shelter, in the adoption center, is a resale shop. You can bring in anything that you that they prescribe to, and then get a tax deduction. So you can drop stuff off there, furniture and whatever. If you got some knickknacks, you got some glassware that it's been sitting around your house and collecting dust and all that, donate to them, help save an animal, and better yet, get a tax deduction. So that's Reach Rescue. And if you want to stop by there, again, they're located in a strip mall pretty close to Mundelein High School, 1126 West Maple Avenue. So Google Reach Rescue. Also, I want to give a shout out to Save a Pet. They are located on 31664 North Fairfield Road, and that's in Grays Lake. That's Save a Pet in Grays Lake. Once again, I believe they are a non-for-profit, and I've had quite a few dealings with them. I have rescued animals that I have dropped off there, and their adoption center and care center there is fantastic as well. So if you're out and about today and you want to think of something constructive to do, then maybe go donate some time and maybe have your kids go with you too. That's the best thing in the world about these animal shelters, okay? All families are welcome. I also want to give a thank you to WRLR staff here. They are all volunteer, and without their help, I would not be able to broadcast this radio show. So that's what's pretty cool about this radio station. It is family friendly, and this show is also family friendly. I try to bring you cutting edge topics, but your kids should be able to listen without you being concerned. Also, one last PSA here, public service announcement, is a networking event. Get to know the Grand Place Mall, and that's located at 201 to 240 Peterson Road in Libertyville, Wednesday, April 20th, 2016, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. So you're joining the chambers of Round Lake, Grays Lake, and a networking event. Okay, so feel free to stop by there. You can RSVP Baird and Warner, 847-367-6050, 847-367-6050. If you live anywhere around Lake County, one of the things, I've been an entrepreneur for over 25 years of my life, and or probably going on 30 years. I've been an entrepreneur since the age of 12. But one of the things that I've learned is to promote your business, you have to show up, and show up in person. So this is a great networking event for you to get out and promote your business and also get some clients. That's pretty cool. So again, 4 to 7 p.m., and that's that networking event. Chambers would be Round Lake, Grays Lake, so forth. And RSVP Baird and Warner, 367-6050, and that was April 20th, 2016. All right, those are my shout outs today. And, oh, this is interesting. I figured out why my intro didn't work. I didn't have the right little button pushed. It's unbelievable. You know, I got this huge electronic keyboard in front of me, and I'm just seeing orange everywhere. And the reason why my intro didn't play was there's a little button that you have to push to queue up the computer. So I didn't do that. And you got to hear a couple more minutes of my voice. Isn't that fantastic? So, you know, this today, let me get into all the information here today. So I got all my shout outs done. I told you about the mission of my radio show. And then today, the topic is surviving custody, surviving a divorce, and surviving a breakup. And you ask me, and even if you don't ask me, you ask me, why am I qualified to talk about this subject? And I've been a lawyer for almost 20 years. I've been practicing family law, divorce law, and custody for 18 plus years. And I've had a lot of cases on this, and I've helped out so many families. I've helped out so many people that were going arguably through one of the most stressful times in their lives, other than death and owing people money. I can't think of anything worse than facing a divorce. And one of the things that I've learned being an attorney is you can't prejudge anyone. You can't prejudge any of the facts. But one of the things I've learned is your client has their opinion. You have your opinion. Their spouse or civil partner has their opinion. The other lawyer has their opinion. And then guess what? The judge has his or her opinion. So you got all these opinions flying out there, and it's my job to paint a reality for the client and trying to get the legal issues resolved without trying to charge an arm and a leg. And I tell you, and one of the other things that goes into litigation is that it's very emotional. It is very emotional. When you have civil partners or a husband and a wife and they are not getting along, chances are, this stuff was in the works many months, if not years before. And one of the spouses or the partner comes to the realization that they would rather go through a divorce than stay with that person any longer. So that's pretty harsh. And I don't necessarily consider a divorce or family law a failure on any one side. It's just a reality. And some people that got along at some point in their life don't get along anymore. Or one person has some bad character traits that they're not owing up to, and they weren't that dedicated partner or husband or wife that they once promised. And that's what it is. It's about relationships with your kids and your own parents and your relationship with your partner or your wife or your husband. And one of the first things that I stress that any client that I see at the courthouse or that walk in my office, one of the things I ask is, have you thought about going into therapy? Have you thought about going into counseling? That is really one of the first steps that you ought to take a look at. And you need to analyze what is causing the stress of this partnership or relationship to break down. And it always comes back to like 5 or 6 things. One is a cheating partner or a cheating spouse. That's one of the things. But that is more of the symptoms than the result. Usually there's a huge breakdown in communications. There's a breakdown in the caring of the individuals, and or you have finances that you're fighting over. And both sides are to blame. And I know that I always represent one of the parties, but one of the things I've also learned after almost practicing law for 20 years is that there's enough blame to go around on both sides. So when a client comes in and tries to blame the other spouse 100% and all that, I sympathize with them, but they're to blame as much as the other partner. And that's what I tell them. I get real with the clients. And I'm a tough attorney. I'm tough on my own clients when I need to be. And I'm certainly a tough litigator. And one of the other things that I found that when you litigate in family law, you got to be able to divorce yourself from all the emotions being the attorney. And almost 20 years ago, I started out brimstone and fire and all that. And I've learned to listen a lot more. And that's one of the other key things is when an initial client comes into me, they're at their worst. Their lives are upside down. They could have an order of protection entered against them. They could have criminal charges against them. Or at least, which is huge, is that their spouses told them that they want a divorce. So the stress from this is incredible. And that's one of the things that they have to realize. So when you come into my office, that those are some of the first things that we talk about. And have you talked about reconciliation? Reconciliation is huge. I'll go to them and say, are you prepared to spend X amount of money on this case? Are you prepared to go through what is going to be probably one of the most stressful things that you will ever go through as an individual? Are you prepared to do that? Are you prepared mentally for this? And I'll say, have you really sat down with your spouse and talked about the implications of filing a divorce? Have you gone into counseling? And I know a lot of attorneys that don't focus on that. I know a lot of the divorce attorneys, the first thing they want to do is go file that petition and start ringing the cash register. But if I have a client that comes in, that's the first thing I talk to them. Hey, the last thing we want to do is file the petition. Let's get you guys in the counseling. Let's see if we can reconcile this marriage or partnership, okay? And then if that fails, then I go into court and we file a petition. And I'll get into what all that is in a second. But the first thing that you want to do when you are looking for an attorney that you want to represent, it's going to represent you in court, you want to take a look at how many years experience do they have in that field. And that's huge. If you get an attorney that's just out of law school, they're not going to know as much as an attorney that's been practicing for 15, 20, 25, 30 years. Okay, so that's huge. And another thing that people do is they go online and they do a Google search on the attorney or the business. And I got to say, if you see positive things about the attorney, that's good. Also, you got to anticipate. If you got a tough attorney that's, no nonsense and just a tough attorney, he's not going to please everyone. And you may see some negative ads out there or posts about that, but you got to see through all that. One of the biggest things that you can do is you go to the ARDC website, the Attorney Discipline Commission website, and see if they've been disciplined for anything on that website. Okay, I know myself, I've never been disciplined by the ARDC, so I'm free and clear from that. And have I had run-ins with previous clients? Yeah, I've had run-ins with previous clients because A, they're either not listening to me, B, their expectations are unreal, number 3, they get too greedy and they don't want to listen to my advice, or number 4, they're just out to revenge seek, okay? And those clients, not that I throw them underneath a bus, but as an attorney, I am also critiquing my clients that come in to my office to see if they're going to be reasonable under the circumstances or not, or are they going to listen to my advice and what state of mind that they're in. I understand that they first come in and they're being upset and all, but they're coming in and they're seeking your advice. Okay, so another thing you want to look for in the attorney is definitely how many years experience do they have? Have they practiced in that county or in that courthouse? And these are some of the questions you want to ask. Do you know all the judges down in this particular courtroom? And, do they know the process? So ask them, how many years have you practiced in Lake County? Do you know some of the other attorneys? And also, one of the things that the attorney should present to you is an engagement or a contract for legal services. This is huge. This is so huge. I know that a lot of the clients that I take over for other lawyers that were discharged for whatever reason, it happens. And I don't say anything bad about the attorney. I move on trying to resolve the case. But you should always have a written agreement with that attorney. Let me say that again, so you get this and you hear it. You should always have a written agreement with that attorney, okay? And their attorney's fees should be in writing, and what also the hourly rate is or the flat fee should be in writing, and what does it include and what does it not include. That is huge. So make sure you get that in writing. And the legal agreement that you have with this attorney is going to be the Bible of how you're treated. And if you get into a dispute with that attorney, this agreement is what's going to bind between you and the attorney. And one of the things that attorneys will release a client on is that they owe the money attorney, or they owe attorney's fees, or they owe costs. And that's one of the biggest things that as a client, you're going to have to come in and you're going to be expected to pay that attorney money. So don't be insulted when the attorney asks you for a down payment on the case and they start to go over how much the hourly rate is. So make sure you ask, what is the attorney's hourly rate? Does that include in time or out of court time? And then also, if they have a paralegal or secretary, how much do they charge for the paralegal? And have them break it down. So that is huge. Okay, and also ask whether that they charge for travel time. I have seen attorneys that travel and they charge for that time, and in some cases they should not. Okay, I leave that up to the individual. But this is huge. This is, especially in family law, where a lot of money can go out rather fast. These are some of the questions you want to ask. Also, you want to see if this attorney is going to call you back. That's one of the measures I use with one of my clients, is if a client doesn't call me back and getting me information that I need, I may have to withdraw at a certain point. So it's not just all about the money. I can't represent a client that doesn't call me back. So that's huge. So you're looking for communications between you and this attorney. And then how does he treat you? Does he just want to talk to you on the phone? Does he have patience with you? And, and so forth. And then make sure all the fees are in writing. And here's another thing. That deposit must go in the attorney's trust account. If it goes into another account, that's considered wrongful commingling, and they can get into the trouble with the professional code. Okay, so be aware that there are some really great attorneys out there, but also there are a lot of attorneys that just want to take the money and they aren't too concerned about the underlying case. So I know every case that I take, I truly try very hard to fight for my clients' rights. I try very hard to listen to them. And then I go about a legal plan which will cost the client the least amount of money to arrive at a great legal results. And that's what it's all about. And also being sensitive to the client and their needs. But as an attorney, I also bring a reality to the client that they must see. So it's my job to paint a legal reality, a realistic legal reality to that client so they know what they're facing. I know of a lot of attorneys that don't do that. So that's that's what you're looking for. Okay. Also, you want to ask them the background of their case. Where did you go to law school? But really the biggest crux is how many years have they been practicing in that area? And I tell you, if you get another person that recommends that attorney, that tells you that attorney is gold. Because why else would they recommend that attorney? And I tell you, a fair amount of my practice comes from referrals from existing clients and former clients. And that is huge. That tells you mark of success of clients out there and of the lawyers. Okay, so I got about 3-4 minutes before I have to go to break. So we talked about what to look for in an attorney, and we talked about the documents that you should sign. Also, in family law, they have to present you a statement of client's rights and responsibilities. A statement of client's rights and responsibilities. And also, if they don't, again, could be an ethical violation. So make sure you look at that. And the first thing that I look at into a case is whether it's going to be contested or uncontested. And that's after I have a conversation with them about reconciliation. Are you sure you want to do this? Okay, because once you bring a lawyer on, I tell you, things get heated up. So let's talk about contested versus uncontested. And then how does this relate to attorney's fees and so forth? So contested means that you're going to have to get an attorney, and your spouse or partner will get an attorney, and that you go in and basically you can't agree on any of the legal issues that goes into a dissolution and or divorce or custody battle. Okay, that means that usually you're not even talking to your partner or your spouse. So that means it's contested. If it's uncontested, then being uncontested means that usually the attorney will charge a flat fee. A flat fee is where the attorney charges a fixed amount to get it done. And both the partner or the husband and the wife or the spouses, they can at least talk and they execute the proper documents. So one of them or both of them goes into court and everything is signed beforehand and everything's agreed to. And then you go into a courtroom before the judge, and then you do what's known as a prove-up with the judge. A prove-up is nothing more where you talk about the subject matter on the case, you talk about the assets, you talk about custody and all the things that you worked out. That goes onto a record. A court reporter types up all this, and then usually 99% of the time, the dissolution judge or the divorce judge will say that the joint parenting agreement and or the marital settlement agreement, and I'll talk about those a little bit down the road, are fair and equitable. And that's the keywords, fair and equitable. And they see no reason why not to uphold the dissolution. Okay, so that is uncontested. And usually, I've seen some law firms charge as little as $300 to do this. And I've seen some law firms charge a minimum of $7,500. So I'm somewhere in between that. After I analyze a case, then I can give a flat fee if it's uncontested. Now, this is one of the things you've got to be aware of too, that if you get a flat fee and then things become, let's say you give $5,000 to the attorney, and the attorney finally had to file a contested petition in court, then he can't keep that $5,000 and charge you another $5,000. If he only used $2,500 of that $5,000 fee, then they must either apply that to the uncontested or refund that to you. So that's one of the other things you got to watch out for. So I'm just diving into family law here, and I have to cut to break here, and then I'll be back in just a couple of minutes here on the other side of break. And I'm going to continue talking about what goes into and surviving a divorce and custody in a family law case.